To say my father, Dennis Hargrove, was different would be like saying getting pepper sprayed was mildly unpleasant. It communicates the idea, but not nearly to the extreme that it's true. Dad was so wildly eccentric, no woman could ever put up with him. Mom left him when I was 4, never saw her again, and I'm pretty sure that's as long as any woman ever stayed with him. Years of a successful medical practice meant Dad had a lot of money and even more land, and he wasn't a bad-looking dude, so getting women was a walk in the park. And getting them to stick around was a nightmare. Mary, the woman he was with until he died, stayed with him until the end, but I could see she hated him. She never came in the same room as him without a scowl on her face. When he finally passed after a long, arduous fight with heart disease, she vanished. She was no spring chicken herself. I had offered for her to stay in the house as long as she needed. My wife and I weren't moving in, and the only response we ever received was, "I'll not be in this house one damn second after that old bastard passes." Now that Dad's gone and the place is vacant, my wife, Jenny, and I decided to gut the old place and fix it up. It'll make a nice rental property. She and I never had any kids, so we don't need a place this big. Plus, we have no real desire to leave the city. It's a nice old home, but it was very dated. Shag carpet, spiral staircase, wood panels on the walls. It's like a Sears catalog from the 70s vomited into this place. For all of Dad's money and his constant attempts to keep up with the Joneses my whole life, he never would do anything to house that involved real work. All new appliances and furniture, but couldn't bring himself to get rid of the hideous green plastic tiles that line the shower walls. Our renovation began in the living room, working our way through the kitchen, the bathroom, and the master bedroom when Jenny noticed something weird. "Honey, have you ever noticed this wall is in farther than the wall in the bathroom? That's an exterior wall. Shouldn't they be in the same place?" "No," I replied. "I never noticed. That's how it's always been. Think the water heater is in there or something?" "No, the water heater is in that alcove next to the washer and dryer." We stood and contemplated for a minute. We weren't going to bust down the drywall on that wall. Every other wall had that stupid wood paneling but this one. But I looked at Jenny and said, what the hell?" and swung my hammer through the drywall. It gave way with no effort. So much so, I almost fell through it when my hammer didn't meet any resistance. I knocked a few more holes in the wall and stuck my head in a flashlight through the hole. "Hey, there's a staircase in here." "No way. Where does it go? I didn't know this place had a basement." "It doesn't," I replied. "At least I don't think it does." So, we knocked the rest of the drywall out until we had a hole big enough that we could both fit through. We grabbed our flashlights and headed down the staircase. "What do you think is down here, baby? Think this is where your dad stored all his gold bars? Huge wads of cash? Vintage porn collection?" Jenny said, coughing. The dust was getting stirred as we made our descent. Jenny coughed and itched as we went down. Poor girl was allergic to everything. She'd always joke about how I was never sick, and she always was. "Haha, I'm not sure, dear. I've never known this was here. I'm sure he had it sectioned off for a good reason." At the bottom of the steps was a large steel door with a padlock on it. Dad had the same lock on his chest of war relics he had in the attic, so I tried the key, and we walked into the basement that never was. It was pitch black. We shined our lights around to find a light switch, but found several candles. I used my cigarette lighter to light a few, to give us enough light to see, with tapestries and wheeled bookshelves everywhere. Tucked in one corner were several boy-sized wooden mannequins. "Tim, what is all this stuff?" "I'm not sure. Looks like an old collection of books on world religions. Mysticism, the occult, alchemy, you name it. What was your dad doing with all of this? I thought he was Catholic. He is, or was. I'm not really sure. Most of these books look like they haven't been touched in years. Actually, I don't think anything down here has. Hey, look. There's a desk over here in the corner. Looks like your dad's handwriting on some of these pages. I approached the desk and fumbled around the papers. Most of them were letters from men with names I couldn't pronounce, most likely from other countries. They all dealt with Eastern mysticism, resurrection of the dead, every terrible thing you can imagine. Tim, Jenny asked, was your dad practicing some kind of black magic? I'm not sure. I thumbed through more of the papers. Hey, here's a letter from Mom, dated 1976. You were what, 5 then? Yeah, that's about a year after she left. Well, what does it say? I glossed over the letter as quickly as I could. She's telling Dad she loves him, but she'll never forgive him for what he's done, for creating some kind of monster. What monster? Tim, I really think your dad was into some serious shit here if your mom left him for it. I know, and I'm not sure. Dad was always pretty normal. I have no idea what she's talking about. We scoured the papers and the documents Dad had sitting around. I inspected the mannequins. They were all covered with runes and glyphs, no doubt related to some of the black magic Dad was studying. Jenny sat in the corner combing through papers while I continued to snoop around. Tim, I think I have something. What's that? In all your dad's letters, he seems like he's trying to knock on a very particular door. Here's one your dad translated, where some Eastern mystic talks about rescuing a soul from the afterlife, bringing it back to this dimension. Then this man from Cambodia is telling him how to bind souls to mannequins. See? And all these symbols he's put at the bottom match the ones on the mannequins. What else is in the letters? Well, there's one here from a chemist at Caltech, dated August 1975. There are some pretty complex chemical formulas here, and apparently some magic too. What does it make? Some kind of synthetic skin, rather real skin, that can grow and bleed without any organs. The chemist calls it the perfect disguise for someone who doesn't belong here. I don't understand. So Dad wanted to make some kind of living dead doll with skin? Given how your mother reacted, it looks like he was successful. There are even letters here from some of the people he consulted congratulating him. I thumbed through more random papers around the basement. Jenny did likewise, thumbing around through letters and envelopes Dad had strung across that corner of the room. I continued to look when I noticed Jenny had stopped moving, sitting in the corner, her eyes fixed on a single document. Tim, she said as she began sobbing uncontrollably. Tim, I know who... She couldn't speak past the sobbing. I approached her. What's wrong? I asked. She tried to hold back the tears as she handed me the paper. I picked it up, and my heart sank when I realized what it was. Certificate of death for Timothy Wayne Hargrove, December 8th, 1974. Cause of death: brain trauma.